Okay. If everyone can please stand, we're going to do a call to order and pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Blue.
Here.
Fallon. Here. Happy.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Wood. Here. Mayor Cramlett.
Excuse.
So any additions or amendments to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Like a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approval of the October 10th city council minutes and ratification of the bills in the amount of $375,442.69 and approve the OLCC annual renewals.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Councilmember Blue.
Aye.
Fallon. Aye. Happy.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Public hearing.
We have none.
All right. Action items. A, appointment to committees.
We have none.
B, approved process for filling council vacancy.
This was carried over from our last council meeting. The suggestion was made that Mr. Blue be appointed to the vacancy from Tamara Farrell so that his term would end December 31st, 2024. And that would leave one vacancy on the council after the election for the council to fill in January.
Discussion.
So we've got myself, Brenda, and Jeremiah. Our seats are up for, on the ballot. We got 4 candidates. We've got either Kathy or Butch's empty spot and Tammy.
Yes.
I just don't see the urgency in filling the spot right at the moment. I think that we should go to the elections and then open it up after that is my recommendation.
Brenda?
And I thought about it and I think that we should, because I remember after last time we had just appointed somebody, I had citizens come to me saying that they wished we had, opened it up and let others, for opportunities. So I feel the same.
I don't want to speak for you, Jeremiah.
I see a new excitement and urgency and people wanting to be involved, and there might be a perfect person out there for it. So I have no problem finishing up in December. Not in the slightest. So.
Butch, how about you? Do you have a comment?
Yeah. I think that we should appoint Jeremiah. I think we should keep as much experience on the board as possible or on the council. And we're going to go into a big transition here with a new city administrator. So I would like to see as much experience kept on this council, and the reappointment of Jeremiah to it would help solidify that. He's very knowledgeable in everything that we're doing, plus what the port's doing. So that's my feeling.
Kathy, Butch, do you think that we would lose that if Jeremiah is not on the council? Because Jeremiah is still president in the meetings. And I feel like that's, I guess, one reason why I was thinking that maybe we would actually broaden our experience and widen our knowledge by not having him fill this position, because he's already present in the meetings as representative of the port.
Well, I think that his knowledge helps us in what we have to address and what we vote on. Just because he's there doesn't mean that he has any sway on it, unless he's on the council itself. And of course, what he does with the port if there's a conflict of interest there, he has to recuse himself.
There's technically, because we have Pete, Jeremiah, and Brenda, all three are up. And then, and we have 4 people running, correct? And then
No.
Tammy,
That's
We
not
have 4
true.
people running.
Jeremiah
No,
is
we
not
have-
up. His
No.
position
No, no,
is
no.
up, but he's not there.
but, no,
Ballot.
Butch, hang on. I was referring to, we said four people run, 4 people on the ballot for city council. Presently,
Right, running for 3 positions.
correct. And then there's an open position that's 4, Tammy, right? And then there's technically a 5th.
Correct.
So either Butch or myself,
Mhm.
so then that's 5. So there's one
Spot.
slot opening. So, what we could do, I mean, it's an idea that what we could do is there's 4 spots running that could fill the 4 vacancies. There are 4 people that are interested in serving. They've signed up, they've gone through the process and everything, that could fill the 4th, and so the problem is the 5th.
Which is what I was suggesting, that we then open it up and we, your main concern on why we brought Jeremiah in when we did was the fact that we would potentially end up in a situation where we wouldn't have a quorum.
Right,
And I don't feel like that's necessarily as much of a concern for me right now with the
Right.
people that we have on the council.
right.
Elections right around the corner, and I
Right.
think that I'd like to see who's interested in the position.
Okay. All right, I would be supportive of that. I feel like, you know, when we brought Jeremiah in, and because we did need that extra support, but we're so close to the end of the year and close to elections, that I think we can leave it open for now. Or what other,
We need to take a vote.
Are you gonna hear public comment first, please?
This is
Yeah.
public comment on the filling the council vacancy. Within the slips.
about that? There's, yes, Tiffany, filling vacancy and container service.
One at a time.
I'm just.
Okay, how about filling vacancy topic?
That's what we're on.
All right,
Thank you for allowing me to address you concerning this action item before you tonight. I'm Tiffany Pruitt. I've been a resident of Cascade Lodge for many, many years, almost 30 years. Traditionally, the council has taken applications, done interviews, and made a determination from the applications received to fill each vacancy. This is a good, transparent process. For the last appointment made, there was no such process, and the person you appointed that night happened to be at the meeting for the discussion you are having again tonight. And I'm curious as to know if he was there at the council's request. But I understand that Mr. Blue put in an application for a previous vacancy on the council. However, zero opportunity was given for the citizens to step up and put their name into the hat, so to speak. How far back in previous applications will you go to make future appointments? If Joe Schmo had come to that meeting that night to volunteer for the position, would he have been appointed, would he have been up for consideration that night? No, I think not, and that's as it should be. And please note, my elk is not with Mr. Blue, but it's with the council who took shortcuts to appoint somebody because of a previous application made. There were no emergencies that required a quick filling of the position, and you shorted the community by not being transparent and allowing all citizens to apply for the position that's been done in years past. Another thing to consider is that the charter states no councillor shall serve in more than one public elected office. And since I wrote this thinking about it, there's really only 4 positions within the city. It's council, court, justice of the peace, and precinct committee persons. Now, the justice of the peace is a very small niche, so there's not really very many people that can be, fill that position. And the mayor can correct me if I'm wrong, because he's been here longer than I have. And it's my understanding that this specific clause is there because the citizens did not want people to be elected to the city council and the port simultaneously. They wanted the port and the city to be 2 separate political entities. And the council has muddied these waters by appointing a port employee to the council. before you say, well, Mayor Cramlett is or was a port employer, employee, when Mayor Walker passed, he stepped back in for the community to a position he had previously, keywords, and elected to, and I thank him for doing that. When I heard at the last council meeting, a councilor mayoral candidate suggested that Mr. Blue should again be appointed to a new vacancy recently made by Mrs. Farrell's resignation. Without due process, I felt the need to speak up and ask you to please reconsider that idea, do the right thing, and open the vacancy to the community to see if anybody would consider applying. And I noticed in the notes that it said that, take applications until the end of this month. I don't understand what the period is. I would say take applications until at least the Wednesday after your next council meeting, and that'll give city time to vet that process. It sounds like you might go in a different direction. Finally, chapter 7, section 30 of the city charter states council vacancies should be filled by a majority of the remaining members of the council. The appointee's term of office shall begin immediately and shall continue until the next general election. And the term for that position shall be the unexpired portion of the remaining term. So these instructions are not very specific. Each elected council or hired city administrator can interpret it however they want. In the future, the council should take some time to consider setting some guidelines for future vacancy appointments. It's the council's job, along with citizens, to do this, and it should not be left to the interpretation of the city administrator or each new council. Please make it transparent and consistent for now and future generations.
All right, thank you. So, discussion on filming.
I think there's one more person that has to.
Yeah.
I got a second.
Which is it?
Yes. Because you filled out.
Which is it?
Butch, you have a comment?
Yeah, from what I hear, Tiffany's inferring that Jeremiah is an elected official of the port. He's not.
What I said. It's not, that's not what I said.
Well, hang on.
That's what it sounded like.
Okay, we're not arguing about that. That's not relevant right now.
It's relevant to me.
No, your point was made. The council understands your point. Butch's point is also made that Jeremiah is not an elected official, but he does represent the board, at least as an employee. And that's what they were trying to do. That's all. Okay. Yeah.
Tammy.
Okay. I feel that the process for filling council vacancies needs to be improved. Yet it is a volunteer position. It is also an elected position and should be taken seriously. Just because someone was on the ballot and was not elected, so for example, this time there's 4 people running, 3 will get elected. I don't think that the 4th person should automatically fill a vacancy when such vacancy may arise. I mean, obviously people voted on it, that person came in last place. Just to say, okay, well, it doesn't matter, we got a vacancy, so you can be on anyway, bothers me. That's all I got.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so what would you like to do? Would you like to wait after the election?
That's my recommendation.
Yeah. You're supportive of that? Okay.
And we need a motion.
If you wanted to make it clean, you could make a motion unless Butch will consensus.
Like to hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we postpone filling the vacancy until after the election.
I will second that.
All right, all in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call. And just to explain to everybody, we had a situation where somebody voted yes or no, and it wasn't documented, so now we've gone to a system where other councils, we do a roll call. So there's no confusion on how someone voted.
Councilmember Blue,
Aye.
Fallon,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Wood,
Aye.
right,
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we're on C, approved second reading of ordinance 457, amending ordinance 315 for mandatory garbage service.
Can we get some clarification on what exactly we're doing here? Because it seems like we got two issues.
There's simple steps here. If the council wants to have, there is mandatory garbage service, what we're talking about is trash roll cart containers. In order to allow the trash roll cart containers to be placed in the city, you need to change the garbage ordinance from garbage can to containers. So that's the first reading.
So we can vote for that, but not the
You
second.
can vote for that, but if you vote for that, then trash cans are required and not garbage cans. If you don't vote, if you turn it down, if you vote against the amended the ordinance, then it remains as it is, and we just go on with garbage cans. So it's a two-step process. In trash can containers right now, integrated carts are allowed for certain services in commercial district, but not in residential, not required in residential. If you want them to be required, you have to pass the ordinance, and then you have to pass a resolution that allows Hood River Garbage, excuse me, Waste Connections doing business with Hood River Garbage to raise the rate $7 a month for all accounts, all resident accounts, in order to finance the purchase of the containers and the truck that picks up the containers. You understand the two-step process and how they're related?
Yes, but I still have some questions. Included in our packet, we got a draft 457, shows the changes from the prior ordinance.
Yes.
And that only included the odd number pages, so it was a little hard to see
I'm
the
sorry.
changes. And it seemed like it was just really updating the language. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, because I had to change the language for garbage cans to trash containers. And that's all that.
That's all that is.
That's all that is. Because if you don't change it,
Yeah, but it's it goes from 1 to page 3. I don't have page 2. And then it goes to page 5, and then 7, and then 9.
okay, is that the red line version?
Yes, yes.
Okay, but you have the actual.
I do have the rest of it that's got it
You
verbatim.
got everything.
I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything, but that's what I
No,
saw
that's
when I
all,
was reading through
that's
it.
all the red line is just changing the garbage cans to containers.
Yeah, public comment on that.
Up to you.
Okay. I went through my stack
Are there
here
any other questions from the council?
We have comment on this or comment on the next?
on the garbage can, it's $7. That's what.
No,
No.
That's not this.
yet.
No.
This is just
Yeah, this
the
is
ordinance
change it.
to change
Okay.
the language to allow us to do the $7.
This is just changing the language from trash cans to trash containers.
So I have a question. So if we do this step first and say this gets approved to change the language, then it kind of automatically hits the $7 thing, and there's really no need for a vote, because now we've said they've got to have the container.
The ordinance does not set the rate.
I understand, but we're not gonna get that
Resolution.
container without the rate.
It's just broadening the language from trash can to
It's
trash.
just broadening the language, that's all. It doesn't matter whether.
But it's kind of like put the horse before, or the cart before the horse, or, you know,
Trash cart before the horse.
well,
So.
because if you change this language of the container, and
Right,
correct me if I'm wrong, and this is approved,
yeah,
then automatically, they're not gonna come give us them containers no matter what, if we don't vote for the rate increase.
not.
We can still use our existing trash
But
cans
the
though.
problem is, if you vote for the resolution that says you gotta do, you get the $7 for the containers, you don't have it because you don't have authority to do the trash containers until you pass the ordinance. You have to have the authority to do containers before you can allow them to charge for the container,
Yeah, which is,
It's just,
it's,
so if the council, based after hearing all the comments, chooses not to do this program, which is what you've requested to bring forward to you,
mhm.
don't vote for the changes to the ordinance. And then we will, the resolution for the $7 is moot because you don't have an ordinance that authorizes you mandatory service for.
Right. Right.
So it's a two-step process, but it has to be, because fees are set by resolution, not by ordinance.
Yeah, and I understand that. My other thing, just so it says we're on this, is, there's good and bad, and I believe in Hood River, they already have garbage trucks that pick up their cans, because they have these exact same cans, so they wouldn't necessarily need to pass on the cost of a new vehicle to Cascade Locks, in my eyes. And there's no end to the fee.
And they get,
Even if we bought a new truck and new cans, there's no end to it when
So I
it's
was-
paid off.
I was trying to wrap my head around this too, Brenda, and I guess the way I look at it is, I don't see that this change to the ordinance is necessarily anything except for just changing the language from trash cans to trash containers, which would make it possible
To do it.
for us to, we could say no to the $7
Mhm.
and we could put it on a future ballot and vote on it, if I understand correctly. It wouldn't be something for a couple of years, but it's something we could.
There is a misunderstanding that says because it's a new fee that it's required to go on the ballot. That is not true. This is not a fee assessed by the city. It's a fee allowed by Tiffany. It's a fee allowed by the city, but not collected by the city. The dollars never go into the city coffers. So it is a fee charged by a solid waste utility that collects.
And I wasn't suggesting it was a tax or a fee that was coming to the city. What I was just saying was that we could actually make it, the citizens actually have an
You can put an
opportunity.
advisory on the ballot if you would like, and you can do it at any time. But-
Really? You
Yeah.
can do it anytime. So
Anyway,
my feeling on it, especially after the comment we got last time, was that there was maybe we need to get a little more public opinion on this. And I don't see anything wrong with the change in the ordinance, updating the language, but I don't necessarily support the next step.
Well, it's a two-step, can we
Can
just
I
stick
just
with
say
the
one more
first?
thing real fast, because I am on the first one, because I am concerned about putting the horse before the cart. So if we change the language on this, say we say, okay, we're gonna change the language, and the other one don't go, now are we forced to get containers and not have garbage cans? Because the ordinance now says container.
that's exactly right. If you want a container, that's an integrated lift, it's a trash hauler.
Right, but you don't have an option anymore once we change it, because we're not putting garbage can or container.
Exactly right.
Okay, that's what I wanna make
So we
clear.
need to make the decision now. Are you gonna go forward with this, or are you not gonna go forward with this? That's because.
A word makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference, but that's what the council asked for.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understood this.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. I'm done with all my stuff.
So
Alright.
if, just as suggested, if you want to have the option, we go back to the ordinance, we come back and read it again, but where it says containers or garbage cans. But when you do that,
Then you're giving them the option.
the option to do it, and it's not mandatory.
Exactly, yeah,
And if it's not mandatory, it's not feasible for the garbage to do it.
yeah, because it's
We can't
it's
have-
all or nothing.
Well, they don't have the manpower, it's just cost effective.
And I don't
It
think
just
they
wouldn't
were,
be cost effective.
I don't believe that they were trying to finance an additional vehicle purchase, that $7. That was just the additional fee for the trash containers
But that's not what you just
No,
said.
exactly, because they're gonna.
Because if I'll figure out 3 cans for every house in Cascade Locks times $7. Eventually, you're gonna pay off those cans, because that's not really
Yeah.
That's
No,
not
it is to finance.
expensive for an ever and ever fee.
Well, Butch, do you have a comment?
I'm not sure.
Well, number one, even though they have a truck that picks it up, it can't be in two places at one time. So they probably will have to buy another truck for Cascade Locks. But I have not heard from one constituent that they are in favor of this. So I would not vote for it.
Okay, here's a flip side, here's a different. So probably, I don't know, too many to count, people that I've heard are supportive having this new trash service. A lot of them have mobility challenges and issues where they're like, oh my gosh, something on wheels would be great. It's not gonna hurt my back. To have a trash recycle bin that's huge and has a lid on it that I can store on the side of my house. That rain, snow, whatever, I can just open it up and throw my stuff without having to store it in the garage. So those, only one, for me, only one person was opposed, and I'm like, well, tell me why you oppose it. And they said, well, I don't want to pay $7. I'm like, okay, you know, that's okay, but the majority of them, we're talking probably in excess of 20 people are all like, they think it's great, especially for families who have 2 cans. And I know we only have, I read in the notes, we only have 15 families in town that have 2 cans. But still, those are 15 families that have multiple kids. And so I think about, it's not an easy answer. You know, I know a lot of people are upset about the $7, but I think we have to collectively look at the whole, as a whole. I can't look at somebody in good faith who's had multiple back surgeries and go, you just gotta drag your can to the courts, you know, to the curb. And so it puts me in a position where I can see both sides. We certainly, as a community, as a whole culture, we're all up over here with finances and gas and, you know, how many times we've heard, you know, people cock their head and they go, well, you know, COVID, that's what happened. It's expensive. So I get why people are against the $7, but also I think maybe given my health background, care background, I completely have somebody supportive who have mobility challenges. For me, I would be in favor of it because that's where I weigh on that. So.
Okay, so would you like to go through the slips and have people comment?
Yes.
Yeah, and while you're going for that, I personally, on a personal level, but this position isn't on my personal level, I would
Right.
love to have the road cart. Because I actually pay an extra fee every month for them to come to my garage and pick up my can.
And there's a lot of
So
same.
I would like it, but this isn't about what I want,
Right.
it's about what the community wants, and that's, I'm hearing like it's not affordable to a lot of people, so that's
Yeah,
where I come in on it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, this isn't my, just my personal agenda. I'll.
No, I'm not saying that either, I'm not saying that either, but I want everybody to be clear that I personally am for it, but I'm not gonna vote for something that I'm for just because it
Right.
makes my place better.
Right. Tiffany, you had a comment on container service. And since we have so many people on a big agenda, we're same as last time, we're keeping to 3 minutes.
Okay, before my 3 minutes starts, so I do on question 7 of the city administrator's report, there's no answer. Does everyone pay $7 per month regardless of the size of can they have? So can you
I thought
answer?
I put yes.
All right.
Okay, so this, again, thank you for the opportunity. This was never presented to the community as a possibility, and I'm sorry, it's gonna be mixed between this and the next thing item on the agenda because I didn't know they had to be separate. As for community input, first time it was presented was on the 3rd page of the city newsletter. And it's a well-known practice for things to not get attention by any media, is to not put things on the front page, but to put them further back where people most likely won't read them. There should be an honest and open discussion with the community to see if this is something that they want. Also, the information in the newsletter was incomplete and did not mention the 35-gallon containers. And though technically you're not implementing the new fee, you are causing a new fee to go in effect because of your actions. And this, and this community voted, according to the charter, no, any such ordinance or resolution or order approved by a majority of the council that creates or increases any tax, charge, or fee, the ordinance shall not be effective unless ratified by a majority vote of the city's qualified electors. So this fee will cause costs the average citizen $84 more a year, the community $33,768 a year. In the staff report, it states that 7 years' time, in 7 years, it requires 7 years' time in order to pay back this. So the citizens will have paid $588. And the community will have paid $236,376 for 804 containers, 402 households, 2 containers, sometimes 3, only for the 15. And obviously, we're not just paying for containers here, we're obviously paying for a new truck as well. If you're gonna push forward with this, I would ask that you please at least put a sunset on it. I mean, are we paying perpetually into the future, into the Neverland here for $7 a year? And there's no discussion of whether the extra 3 gallons of trash, because you go from a 32 gallon to 35 gallon, nobody pays, does more work for less money. So is there gonna be an increase in the charges for the extra 3 gallons? No discussion here. Also, not everyone has a driveway compatible for these trash recycling carts, and has this been considered? Please take more time to get more feedback, put out a survey and a utility bill, asking honest questions and getting feedback from the community. And please don't put it on the 3rd page of the newsletter.
All right. Discussion?
That's it.
Just keep going on the next, whoever the next one is.
That's it for container service.
And all the rest are pretty joy.
Yes. That's
All right.
it. Double check. Oh. All right, council. On the second reading or not of 457, amending ordinance 315.
I guess I, as a council member and as a citizen of Cascade Lots, and really try to keep the community what they want, and what I'm hearing from a lot of community members is they don't. I'm not saying let's squish it, but maybe we should like have a survey or a public input, or hey, if you guys really don't want it, come see us at council and, you know, or do something, you know, so we know what the majority of people want, rather than us trying to figure out, you know, because what I personally want and what the community want, from what I'm hearing, are 2 different things.
And I think the intention of why we asked to get the presentation was because we want to get some options and try to improve things,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like we've got some more information, but I feel like it's a little rushed to make a decision about change.
And originally, if you guys remember, I actually contacted Hood River Garbage because I was on their website, and I think for whatever reason, and I say, wow, Hood River, man, they have nice roll carts with lids. Why don't we get them, right? And then it came up, well, then it's an all or nothing, and it's just kind of, and it should be, and I don't think that we should pay for a vehicle, you know? So there's parts of it that I don't like myself, so I think either we need more public input, or I know we need more public input if we think we want to do something like this. I would like to not base it on like 15 people's.
Want to weigh in, Jeremiah?
I'm for the roll carts. I think it's a good idea. I think I fall with you on seeing people having to drag those on the wheels. I've seen it at the river, I want to, for the community. I think it's the direction that we should go. I certainly don't have any problem with people weighing in on it. But if it were to come to a vote, it would be something that I support.
Before you go too far, Haley Ballou has a comment on the trash service.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess I just want to put some positive feedback out there about the can situation. it was brought to my attention that there was some negative feedback, and I completely understand, like, as far as affordability goes, but you know, just having a larger family, like we are one of the 15 apparently that use more than one can, and it is like the best news ever, thinking about having a larger can. We won't have to have two, that it has wheels, it's going to be easier to maneuver, it's going to be easier for the you know, the trash employees. Like they I just see them breaking their back lifting these big cans up all through the winter full of water. I mean, even just from like an ethical perspective, like if we can make that job easier on them, it's just is a no-brainer. And I have plenty of clients that have, you know, looked at purchasing a house in town, and they're like, oh, we just wish that they had the cans that Hood River had. It's I have not heard one single, like, out in the community negative comment about these new cans being implemented. So like, obviously I hear negative comments here in the council, but it from my perspective, and maybe that does just mean getting more public input throughout whatever process you guys decide to use. I think it's widely welcomed from everything that I'm hearing. So.
Peterson?
Thank you, City Council. I also am a positive comment for the new trash cans. I think the big question is, what is that $7 going to cover? Is it strictly only the trash can, or are we actually getting more trash and recycle allowance? If it's the latter, I think we should vote for it. It's a better value. Our town is growing. We have more tourism. And personally, I'm kind of tired of picking up people's trash in the street on a windy day. You know, I'm a lucky person to be able to work remote from home. So I do the good thing and I go out, I pick up the trash and I put it in their can, and they're not back home for like 8 hours. So that's going into the river, it's going in the street. You know, it's just a lot of negative things that are going on. And I would say that in the next couple of years, they're probably going to change it. And you're going to need someone to vote on this. And I think just take care of it now, because they're going to be able to change the whole county system into a whole single trash can system. You know, just a matter of time when. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
So,
Is it possible maybe to have the guy that does the garbage service at River Garbage come out here and find out, I mean, why do we need to finance a pickup or a garbage truck?
Mr. Winterbaum, would you like to?
Is he
answer
there? Okay, good.
Good evening. Well, I don't have the pro forma in front of me that we ran regarding the options that council asked of us to provide to them a year ago. We had done everything from a single cart to 3 carts. We talked about universal service. We talked about subscription service, and where the needle landed was on a recycle cart, which is 95-gallon capacity, and on a trash cart for a 35-gallon cart, which replaced a 32-gallon. There was a portion of a truck. There is not a truck in this program. There's a portion of, and we are hoping that we can find a used one to accommodate the extra lifts for the carts. The initial capital is for the carts themselves, which have a lifespan of 7 years. And we are also responsible for maintaining and taking care of the carts on move outs, move ins, non-pays, things like that. So there's another portion that we're not looking at as far as what it takes to service and move these carts around from Hood River area. And the other thing that currently is underway is the recycle markets are once again crashing. And to put out a larger recycle cart, which is now approximately $98 a ton to dispose of that material, not counting the collection, you know, that it's probably not the best thing to do for us, but we feel from a community standpoint, we put the offer out there, and so we're going to stand by it at this time.
Jim, I have a question. So for someone who has 2 cans, are you offering the 65-gallon container?
Yes, a 2-can customer, those 15 or 20 accounts that put out 2 cans weekly, they would get a 1 roll cart 65 gallon. And then if there are other people that normally put out an extra bag, it may be to their benefit to upgrade to a 65, but that would be their option if they wanted to do so.
And then they're charged $7 just for the 165 gallon and their recycle bin. They're not charged the $7 twice because they go to a 65 gallon, correct? Okay.
Correct. We just averaged it out and based it on participation and came up with a $7 number for single can or 2-can customers.
Great, thank you.
Can you ask if it's the same for the 32 and the 35 gallon?
Yeah, it's $7
It's
per
$7.
account.
No, for dumping the trash. So we pay for 32 gallons of trash to be dumped now. The new containers are gonna be 35 gallons, which is 3
Yeah,
gallons
yes.
more.
Yes.
It's gonna be the same cost.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. So here's kind of another train of thought. I always get all the different angles here. If we don't do this now, things are going up exponentially. I mean, it's crazy. So to speak on that, if we wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, that's $7 a month. I guarantee you it's gonna be more. Well, I shouldn't say guarantee, but I would anticipate it being more. So we've just cost the city of Cascade Locks residents even more money. That's one train of thought. To speak about Mr. Peterson, his comment about trash and cleanup. I don't know if any council or anybody in the audience here has been part of a solve cleanup. I've been on several of them since 2018, and I gotta tell you, the amount of trash in the fields is appalling. All over the port, the port property, everywhere. The downtown, at the park, you guys have a staff that helps with that and maintain it. But around being personally on these cleanups for Solve, it's not a pretty sight. It's not. And so, and I don't think residents are seeing that part. We live in a very protected area in the gorge. I'm very proud of the gorge, as we all are. And I gotta say, the garbage is really, really offensive, and we're growing and it's getting bigger and it's not going to get better. It's just not unless we try and, use some form of container that can contain that lovely recycled stuff that blows everywhere. But I appreciate both sides, but I'm just from the feedback I've heard personally, not my own opinion, but and then what I've experienced, I would be in favor of going towards the trash cans with the lids. Yep, I know it's $7 a month, but also I care about the whole city, and I can't have it.
Didn't mean to interrupt. I did put in my note, and I feel that about speaking on, I was going to speak on the homeless initiative, but it is related due to services possibly available. May I speak on this as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Denise, can you?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Denise Emerald Baker, Southwest Community Regulator, where I see every day, every week on recycling day, fabulous amount of people putting out the blue bin. And then the next morning, it's, if you have not seen Moody or Regulator, whoo, there's a lot of recycling down there. And garbage can lids, and we're all putting them at each other's homes. But, and if we didn't have Bernard, thank you, Bernard, walking with his grabber, if you know who I'm talking about, every day, 3 times a day, picking up garbage in our city. Thank you. So I am supportive, but I also want community input. I also feel for people who are needing assistance, and more, this is going to come up. City of Portland, City of Salem have an ordinance that offers financial assistance for waste disposal and garbage pickup for a certain meeting criteria. It looks like 211, which I'm hoping that we will promote and support more for other services. If you're not familiar, that helps people find what they need. Has some links to getting assistance for trash disposal if you meet some certain income, disability, health concern qualifications. So I would also suggest this council, I know you're very busy, and I thank you for all you're doing and maybe within the city, start looking for some of the programs that could help our residents. And or, I know there's never enough money. Apparently, City of Portland has allocated certain funds that a person can apply for. So, don't know if we find that in state grants, but that is something that we need to always remember when there are increased fees, even if they're not from the city. So I just want to put that out there, that there are some places to get assistance. Thank you.
Any other comments on the trash cans?
It's a hard one. It's like a one-way deal, you know?
Right,
So that's, I guess that's my hesitation, is I feel like there's no real reason why we have to do this right now. We could always do it later, and give it a little more thought.
You can literally kick the can down the road.
I've been waiting all night for that.
I'm not a fan of kicking cans down the road. I'm a fan of handling business, making motions, getting seconds, and taking votes. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve ordinance number 457, amending ordinance number 315 to facilitate the use of the garbage container integrated fence.
is there a second?
Perfect.
Okay.
I like to handle business.
There we go.
All right. So then we're gonna skip D.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Approve support for statewide homelessness initiative.
The Oregon Mayors Association, 25 mayors got together and put together a program that they have sent to the legislature. And League of Oregon Cities is working with them to adopt this effort. And the question before the council is, do you want to be a signer on the letter? Yes.
Council had an opportunity to read.
Yes.
Discussion?
I'm sorry.
Need a motion?
Sure.
Can I get a motion?
I will go to speak on that.
Is that the homeless initiative?
Right.
All right.
So I just wanted to applaud the state of Oregon and the League of Oregon Cities for working further on the homeless assistance program, as we watched in the state of Oregon and Portland in particular. And even it's coming out here, we see it sometimes, our homeless situation, it seems to have grown exponentially. So I do see that there are some funds in the state homeless assistance program. I don't know, as we sign our support, I think it shows that we care. And as you look carefully at your materials to see if there is a financial obligation, I have found many financial resources at the state level that I hope is not something that would be encumbering the city too much. It sounds like they are looking for, and Gordon, or you may, through your packet, determine this more clearly, but it looks like they're looking for support from the city. So I'm just hoping that I'm pro that we can show that we are paying attention and caring. And I appreciate this council took fabulous care of a homeless person that was at the little tourist bathroom area by finding that, including intertribal services and finding that person a home. So I just really think that we are a caring community, and when you do things like that in support of this program, that you will be learning new ideas as well and reaching out to other resources. So thanks.
Thank you. Motion to be to approve support for statewide homelessness initiative.
Did you make a motion?
She's looking for.
I'm looking for one.
I make a motion to approve support for statewide homelessness initiative.
Second? No second? So are we saying we're not supportive of the statewide
$50,000 funds that would be coming to our city?
55,000?
Yeah, $55,000.
Mhm. This is just a letter of support,
And it's not guaranteed.
and it's not guaranteed.
It's just.
We're just saying we're supportive of the initiative. Is there a second? Discussion?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't discuss
no, well, that's
it.
been going on.
Nice try. Nice try.
Good. All right,
Okay, thank you.
appearance of interested citizens to share a variety of perspectives on issues facing our community. Okay, so it's 3 minutes, and Denise, you're back up about, you wanted to talk about CAT?
Well, they're on the agenda. So I can wait.
All right, Patricia. Discussion, Windsong Phase 1.
I am Patricia Bell, I'm a resident of Winsong, Plat 1. I just wanted to bring up a couple points about the HOA formation that we got. Not sure what's been brought to the table already, but I've been looking at the Oregon state laws, and it's pretty clear that the plot owners aren't supposed to be the ones that are responsible for forming an association like that. And also, if an association's been dissolved, that's also still not our responsibility according to the Oregon state laws. And I know we're awaiting a proposal from Gordon and I believe Dan Weisner, so got an email. I know our 90 days is coming up soon, so hoping to hear something about that soon. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Regina, HOA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Hello, City Council. I'm Regina Hendrick. I'm a resident here in Cascade Box, and it's October 24th, 2022. City Council members, the homeowners in Winsong Heights Phase 1 are currently under a 90-day time frame for responding to City Administrator Gordon Zimmerman's request that we form an HOA. This request came to us from Mr. Zimmerman in a letter dated September 13th, 2022. Our 90-day timeline would expire on December 12th, 2022. Some of us homeowners believe that 90 days is not significant for us to do our due diligence and then undertake whatever action is ultimately going to be necessary. This matter has proven to be time-consuming, messy, and confusing. On October 13th, 2022, Mr. Zimmerman sent an email stating that he met with Dan Weisner, the developer of Winsong Terrace, and that they are working on a proposal that could impact the formation of an HOA. You see the email. Gordon asked us to put a hold on any activity while he and Kathy Woolsey work on putting together a solution. We have yet to receive any more response regarding the solution. And while the delay is acceptable to us, while we wait, our 90 days are continuing to lapse. We would like to formally request an extension to have until May 31st, 2023. This is
This is an extension from 90 days to 260 days. Or an additional 90 days after a new proposal solution is given. Whichever date of the two options comes later. We believe with the complexity of this issue and upcoming holidays and tax season, that this is an appropriate amount of time. We would like to request that council formally vote on our extension request. Thank you for your time and consideration during this complicated matter. Respectfully, Jessica Good and Regina Hendrick.
Great,
So, board members are.
It's just keep on with the comments.
There's a stack. All right, so Clayton, Winsong HOA.
Well, if you guys vote on that, I'll decide whether I have 3 months worth of 3-minute conversations,
Clayton, sorry, can I ask?
or do I need to ask the hard questions today?
Hang on, you got 3 minutes.
You want me to ask the hard questions today? I will.
You got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Go for it.
Let me deliver something to you here first. Thank you.
We'll start your 3 minutes, so you sit back.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can share. Yeah, no worries.
All right.
Recorder, so.
Don't give it to me.
And I just kind of want to remind everybody, if you have comments or anything, great, you gotta wait till you get to the seat. All right, thank you.
Okay, so what I've handed you guys all is Oregon State statute. This is the law. And it says corporate dissolution associations. Last meeting, I gave you the status of the Osprey Homes LLC. Winsong Phase 1 homeowners association systematically dissolved. Question was, can it be dissolved? And it said in the articles inadvertently or deliberately. Seems like it can. So I wanted to point you to some of the highlighted items here, particularly drawing attention to item C. It says, okay, so it can be dissolved. It's replaced by an unincorporated association. The bylaws are in effect. The articles of incorporation are in effect. That's item B. And item C, that it shall be served by the members of the board of directors and the officers who served immediately prior to dissolution. So if you're wondering who is the board member of the unincorporated HOA, it is still the board members of the last one by law, right there. So our letter asks that you guys take this up with the declarant. I told you that the letter that was issued to us said it was never formed. We showed that's not factual, that there's material error to that letter. This shouldn't be served on us. It should be brought up with the declarant, and progress is being made in that direction. So we're grateful for that. So good. While the city's in discussion with Dan Weisner, we would also like to request that somebody get us these bylaws. According to item B here, these automatically trigger upon the HOA. We don't have them. They weren't recorded properly. So they obviously have amended these CCNRs. The city should have known that they existed. So should we have, we share that fault, but the city is the one in the discussions with Dan Weisner. So we would like to request that you get those bylaws for us because they automatically trigger onto us. And then I also had a question, at the last meeting, did the city attorney review the articles of incorporation? I'd like an answer to that. I think that we should pose that should be answered before Gordon leaves. And also at the first council meeting that I attended, which was September 26th, we were told that the bond was given back to Osprey Homes. Then at this last council meeting on October 10th, we were told that the bond didn't get returned to Osprey Homes. In fact, it got called and used up to do roads. Then I looked at the aerial images on the Hood River County web maps, and in 2005, there's no roads, and in 2009, there is roads. That means that the roads were done before Osprey ever even took over. So I'm curious to know what roads was the bond used on? And I would like to know, actually ask this question and get an answer before Gordon leaves. What roads did we use the bond on? I think that's about all the questions I had. I thought my 3 minutes would go a little slower than that, so.
Good. Deserve that.
Questions?
Good points. Thank you for that. Connie, Windsong Terrace, phase 1.
Oh, they start my friend to sit down.
We're not. We're not.
Thank you. The 2 times that I have talked before, I've said that this has been a huge learning experience, and we certainly have learned a lot through that. And I probably am just gonna bring up a little bit more of what you have heard. But in our first letter that we got from Gordon on September 13th, it said that we are without a required HOA and that we are required to have one. I think you heard here tonight, we do have an HOA. It's just not us. It's Osprey. Yeah, you can read that in the declarations, and you can read it in the incorporation notes. In fact, I've got them here if you want to read them tonight. If you haven't, they are your HOA. They are the people that are responsible for taking care of that storm track and for the forested land as well. In fact, it's still in their name. They still hold title for it. They haven't given it to us as required. So we're not responsible for doing any of that. And if we were responsible for doing any of it, we don't have the manual, the operation manual that came up at the last meeting that says in the CCNRs that they gave you a maintenance and operations manual. I asked for that manual. Colleen Poole asked for that manual. I sent an email, you should have that email, that says, where's the manual? How would we know what to do if it was our responsibility? Because it isn't until they give it to us, and they haven't. And that's the big thing, they haven't. So you guys are at the table with them, we're still doing business with them. If anybody can get them to give that manual and go through this process, if you really want us to be your HOA, you're gonna have to do what was required in that performance bond that you have. And you know, I was on the budget committee in 2020, and if you got the money from that performance bond, first of all, I'd like to know how much money it took, how much money was, and especially if you said it paid for a road, how did that get put into the budget? And how did that get transferred to a different account to pay something? Because I don't remember that. So if I was the city council, I want the city manager to explain that to me, because that's a lot of money. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that's all of public comment for HOA. All right. City committees.
There's one more public comment that's not HOA.
Tammy. Right on top. Town hall meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a suggestion, with all the garbage can stuff and Windsong stuff, I would like to make a suggestion for city council to maybe think of doing a town hall meeting, maybe once or twice a year, a couple of hours. Like down at the pavilion, we did it for, before COVID, we did it for Greg Walden. Where people got a raffle ticket, and then if when their number was called, then they had 3 minutes to pose their question, and they got through as many as they could. And it's just that, you know, I ran into somebody at the post office, a resident, who actually still thought that city council was closed for public input. And I'm thinking, okay, not everyone's reading newsletters, not everyone's looking at the post, you know, the post office. And it would just be a great way, I think, to bring people together, maybe alleviate some of the tension that happens when things come up. So that. Thank you.
Okay. Now, moving on, city committees,
We have none.
City Light, BKI discussion, Scott, Lindsay, and Guy Fulcrum, BKI Incorporated.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk with you guys today. Also, really wanted to acknowledge Gordon for the good work that he's been doing over the years for you guys. We've been an engineering firm for you guys for probably 35 years or so. So it's been a long spell, and most recently, and I kind of consider this Gordon's kind of coup de grace in that the city council is getting the EDA funds approved and being able to move forward with some significant hardening upgrades to your facilities. It's something that obviously with the setbacks that you've had over the years related to wildfire and other elements, certainly warranted and good to have. So we're thrilled to be part of that. In terms of a quick overview, I'm here to just kind of provide that. And then Guy is our engineer of record and will be the technical person. And I caution you against using him because he gets in the weeds quick. Whereas I'm inch deep and a mile wide with regard to what I'm going to present. So really where we're at is there's two main elements to the EDA grant. The first is trying to figure out what to do with the two substations, the Pyramid substation and the Cascade Lock substation. You guys are acquiring the land or in process on that related to the Cascade Locks substation, which is you're buying it from Bonneville. And so that's going to give you a good location for the second to basically figure out how to consolidate if that's what you want to do with the two substations or not. And so that would be part of the process that we're going to do and conduct in phase one, is trying to do an assessment and determination as to what the best thing to do is for the city council and for the city. And then beyond that, there's the upgrade that is sought for the business park distribution side, which also is part of the hardening associated with that. And really, once we go through that first part of the process, it will help inform the thought process in terms of how we develop the next steps related to crossing the I-84 and to dealing with the connection points that are there. So that's the high level overview of what the EDA grant will be for. And again, getting money out of the feds is not easy to do. It's a heavy lift. And you know, I'd like to acknowledge Gordon for the good work he did in that space. And we're glad to be a part of it. So with that, any tough questions are for Guy. Any easy questions are for me.
So just to give you status, they presented an engineering proposal contract to me this morning. It's been forwarded to the EDA. When the EDA approves it, we'll come back to you for your approval, and then all of this work will start. And again, the basic is buying the BPA substation, hardening the infrastructure between the substations to over the freeway, and extending the transmission lines throughout the industrial park. So that's the effort, this $3 million project that we have. Now remember, it was $3 million when we first put this together 3 years ago. So you know darn well it's not going to be $3 million now. And what Guy is charged with doing is, once we get the look view and we see what we're doing, he gets to figure out what's the best we can do for our money, unless we find new money to augment the $3 million. Does that make sense?
Didn't Tom have a bunch of questions? The mayor, he had requested they come out because he had a whole bunch of
Yeah,
questions.
what Tom's question was, he wants to maintain the pyramid substation, the smaller, what will be the smaller substation. Again, that will be part of the review. And it may be phase two, if that's what the plan is. The first is, let's get the 25 to 30 megawatts of transformer in the BPA substation, upgrade our services, and provide a better quality product, but a more power to the community. And then when that generates increased revenue and sales, phase two will then be perhaps putting a smaller backup or finding someplace else and putting an equal size transformer substation. So it's a phased approach, and it all depends on a future development. And so it's, let's get the more power for it, because we're a growing community. For history, when the mill was running, we were average 2 megawatts every day, 2.5. We're now running about 7. So, and we only have 14 megawatts capacity. So that's why we're trying to double our capacity to 28 megawatts. And that gives some of our businesses that have asked for more power, potentially for new businesses that want more power, will have that to sell. And when we sell that, our revenues go up and we're able to do more to keep the infrastructure in place. So that's kind of the vision, but these guys that have been our engineers since 1988, 34 years, is that, I can't count. Engineer, come on, isn't that a guy question?
Close enough, yes.
So, let's examine what we are, what we can do for the 3 million we have. What are the possibilities if we had a little more money, what we could do with that? And then what's phase 2, phase 3? No, answer that before you got it.
Any other questions? Butch, any questions?
No questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, next up, Columbia Area Transit, CAT presentation.
River County Library. Yelitza. Is Yelitza here?
Oh.
You are.
Oops,
Is she here? She didn't come.
you're right. The River County Library, I skipped one.
But she's not here. Are you Yelitza?
I'm Amy.
You're Amy. You're from
Yeah.
CAT.
I am.
We
All
want
right.
to talk on the phone, we don't
Yeah.
in person.
So Elita's not here.
No.
Okay. See, that's why I want a cat.
Oh, you're so.
All right. All right, please, maybe.
Got a little handout for you all. Thank you for having me. My name is Amy Schlappi. I am the new executive director at Columbia Area Transit. So that's what we do business as. We are formerly in the Hood River County Transportation District. So for those who are not familiar with us, we provide public transit within Hood River County and along the I-80 corridor. So thank you so much for having me today. First, I want to congratulate Gordon for your official retirement, and I look forward to working with you as administrator going forward. So today, my goal tonight is to share a little bit of what we've learned. We'll first give you an overview of our transit master plan update process that we are currently in the middle of. I give you an overview of what we have learned from the community in our first survey, which discussed how the community uses transit and what are gaps and some opportunities. And then also discuss with you our second survey, which is what you have in your hands, where we are looking at proposed service options. So in our transit master plan, we are looking at 5 focused areas. So there's Cascade Walks, the River West, the River East, Odell and Lower Highway 35, Parkdale and Upper Highway 35, and then we're also looking at regional corridors too, so along the I-84 primarily. So for our timeline, so we started this process in summer of 2021. And we have to have the final plan wrapped up by June 30th, 2023. We have done stakeholder interviews with several people within all the different focus groups. We have done that first survey that I discussed. And we have also done different presentations, events, and targeted in-person outreach. And working with local partners, so the next door, as well as on community health, to ensure that we're getting feedback from a wide range of demographics of our community. Great, so this current survey that we are working on that has some proposed service options that should wrap up early November, so November 9th is when we're looking at closing it. We will then provide a draft transit master plan this winter, so it's looking like it's going to be January 2023, and then we will go through different public hearings and the public process before our board actually adopts the plan. So lots of opportunity for public comment and feedback. Okay, so for the community survey, which was the first survey, as I said, the purpose was to gain insight to writer and community experience in transit, identify real or / perceived gaps, needs, and future mobility options to explore. So again, we did this online. We had English and Spanish versions available. We also did it in person. We had hard copies. We went to several places of business within the county and partnered with organizations where we, if a client purchased, let's say, a coffee or, we provided a client with a coffee or $5 gift card if they filled out the survey. So we were able to get a large amount of responses that way. And again, we also worked with Nextdoor and community health and libraries and school in order to get feedback from students, teachers, etc. Okay, so from our respondents, we learned that the majority of the respondents were from Hood River West, Hood River East, with the second being Hood River West. We also had responses from Cascade Walk, so frankly, I would have liked to see that bigger percentage than it was. The majority of respondents were between 45 and 64 years old, and then the second group was 25 to 44. I would like to mention that we did have about 8% of the respondents being under 18, which I thought was amazing. For ethnicity, the largest respondents were white and Caucasian. The next largest was Hispanic. When asked what the barriers were that people experienced when using CAT, the majority of responses were CAT doesn't run where or when I need it to. When we asked what needs to change or improve for CAT to have a greater role in your community / life, the biggest response was expanded bus routes, followed by extended days, hours for CAT services, and then frequency of service. When asked which extended hours that they would like to see, the biggest response was weekend service and then evening services, so after 6 p.m. And when we asked which safety measures would we like to see added, the response was lighting and then sidewalks. So that brings us to what we learned, or that is what we learned, and that brings us to what we want to do with that information. So we have proposed certain options, but with those options, it's also important to have supportive options as well. So for us, that was making sure that our stops and amenities were formalized. If you've seen some of our CAT stops, they range from nice formalized structures to A-frames to little metal poles with a little sign on it. And we really want to make sure it's standardized and formalized, and that they're all accessible and easy to get to. Also, we're looking at land use. So what land use is compatible with transit and how we can become a greater role when new development comes to the community, so that we can ensure that transit is not an afterthought, but is thought of during the development process, as it just makes it easier to be involved. And then first, last mile options. So when we're looking at how to solve a lot of the transit issues within Hood River County, the big theme that we're kind of looking at is the mobility hub idea. So a mobility hub is a place where you can have many different transportation options. So you can access transit, there can be bikes parking, there can be bike share, there could be car share, there could potentially be a park and ride, lots of different options so that people within the community have many tools within the toolbox. And it supports that, so people don't have to really go digging on what different car-free options they could use when they're trying to get around the board. Okay, so that brings me to the different proposed options for Cascade locks. currently, though, we serve Cascade locks in a couple of different ways. The big regional service is Columbia Gorge Express. So we have one stop, it's in front of, if you're going westbound, it's in front of Thunder Island. And if you're going eastbound, it's the Columbia Market. That is the primary way of how we support Cascade locks. And that has very high ridership. Right, or actually this past summer, we are above our pre-pandemic ridership levels, which is amazing. So, and then we also have a local DVA fixed route. So that runs 3 times a day, Monday through Friday. And so it goes from Hood River to Cascade Locks to Hood River again. We will pick people up there at their door and take them to another door. And as long as they reserve a day in advance. So that is what we currently have. On the table, there's option 1, which is a deviated fixed route, and it will circulate through Cascade Locks. The idea would be to have it formalized stops. It would be 7 days a week, and it would stay within local. So right now, we do go between Cascade Locks and Hood River. This option would stay local within Cascade Locks and just take people to the mobility hub or Thunder Island or Columbia Market, which they would then connect to the regional service to take them either to Portland or Denver. Does that make sense? Okay.
Can you say that one more time to me?
Yes, of course. So, so deviated fixed route is where you have fixed stops, but the bus is allowed to deviate. So the Columbia Gorge Express is an intercity service. It will not stop anywhere else but except the stops where it's designated to stop. The deviated one kind of is a middle ground between dial ride, which is door-to-door service, and that fixed route, which doesn't have a lot of flexibility. So this would be a deviated fixed route, so there is that flexibility, so it could serve someone who doesn't have the ability to go to walk or bike or et cetera to a fixed stop. And then it would take them to go either to services within Cascade Locks, or it would take them to the Columbia Gorge Express stop, where they would then transfer to the Columbia Gorge Express and take it to Hood River or Portland. And that would give them a little more flexibility than now, because right now, they either have to just wait for one of the 3 times a day when we will do a deviated pickup and go to Hood River, or they have to be able to get to the Columbia Gorge Express stop. And of course, there's some limitations there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then the second option is more of a, it's a mobility services option. So there still would be the ability for someone to schedule a ride for us at least a day in advance, for us to pick them up their house and take them to the mobility hub where they could transfer on the Columbia Gorge Express for the regional service. It would not be a fixed route, so or a deviated fixed route, so there wouldn't necessarily be the option where they could just show up and take that service to the Columbia Gorge Express stop. So in that way, it would be a little bit more limiting. However, the intent would be to really focus on creating a mobility hub where there's lots of different transportation options for whatever those needs may be. So it's a little bit more flexible, and it may be seen as a little bit more appropriate based on our current ridership levels on the Cascade Locks local deviated service. Any questions on that one?
Well, like a general comment overall, thank you so much for all the work you've done to get this far, for managing, for laying that foundation. We have noticed the increased ridership and the increase in traffic that are here, and we appreciate your efforts to try and improve and expand the services that you already made. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. What was the percentage of, when you did the survey in Cascade Locks, how many people participated in that?
I believe it was 9%.
9%.
Yes.
Out of how many?
So that was, it was
Just curious.
specific, so it was, oh, I'm sorry, that's actually much lower, it was 9 respondents total. Out of, I think it was 350-ish responses. And if it's okay, I can send this back to Gordon and I can
Okay,
send it to you.
that'd be great. I appreciate Kat. Because we
Okay.
have come a long way. Just since I've been here since 2018, and I've just seen you guys have just done a really good job increasing services and whatnot.
Thank you, that is our goal.
Any comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you. And then just so you know, and if you could, everybody here, I would really encourage you to share via your different platforms, how to take the survey either online or in person. Online, you can go to engagecatbus.org and do it digitally. And again, that can be English or Spanish. And then in person, you can either come to the CAT office anytime. I can also provide the offices here with hard copies so that they can be distributed. Or you can stop by our office.
That would be nice, I think, to get a little more input back, more than 9 responses.
This is something we could get in the newsletter, maybe.
Right.
Looks like there's a cat.
We did.
We did. That's where we got the items.
It's in the November
This is gonna be in the
newsletter, yeah. And they also shared it on social media, so thank you very much for that. And it's also been sent to the court as well. They said they would send it out. And then staff is gonna be doing in-person outreach. They're gonna try to partner with the coffee shop in town. And where we pay for a cup of coffee if somebody responds, so.
And we can help with that too, just to get the publicity out.
You can go
That'd be
online and
wonderful.
fill it out yourself.
You can do that, you can also fill it out here.
I did it last
week.
You did?
Yeah, good job.
And how was it, may I ask?
Really easy. I mean, not being completely new to it, it was really easy to fill out. It took me 2 minutes. I mean, it's quick. So.
Awesome, I'm glad to hear that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, next, Port of Cascade Lots request for support letter. Rex Johnson?
Oh, I was gonna speak to Kat, but is that appropriate? I mean, you're not taking any action.
No, we're not. What, are you supported? to say-
Yes, I just wanted to say, if you haven't got your annual pass, it is going up.
No, it's not.
Yay, $40, do we still get the free wear on person?
Until December 31st, and then we'll be having sales, pre-sales in the end of December for the 2023 pass.
$40 per year to go back to Walpole Falls, Portland, back airport, takes you to the Gateway Transit Center. I dropped off my car to get fixed, and the auto mechanic in that Gresham truck area will take you to Gateway Transit Center, while they will not take you to Cascade Lots. My sister lives in LA, bought an annual pass because she's been here more than twice, so it paid for itself. I'm planning to buy them for my nephews in Portland, so they will come out. We've seen, I live in the little downtown area, I see people with their bikes, tourists from Minnesota, we're meeting people down at the Thunder Island Brewery bus stop. So it is getting used and word of mouth. I know the more that we can support CAT, the more you can do for us. And I didn't know about the deviated routes, so I need to learn more so I can get to Hood River and do other things. But it certainly has been worth it for Portland. They're clean, bus drivers are nice. It's a great asset. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
That's big announcement.
Actually, they're free.
All right, Mr. Johnson.
I let Gordon know earlier this week that I was gonna excuse myself from any discussion on this one. Probably know this forward and backwards, so.
Well, Madam Chair, council members, thanks for the time tonight. For the record, I'm Mark Johnson, and I do government affairs work for the Port of Cascade Locks. We're here this evening asking for a letter of support for a capital request that the port is making to both Oregon and Washington in the next legislative sessions. And thank you, Gordon, for putting this in the packet. We did put the full 11 by 17 in there too, so kudos to you. Looking at the budget, so good.
I'll send you.
in a nutshell, the court is asking each state to control of $12 million is the total price of the project, $6 million from Oregon, $6 million from Washington. And this will give us a good start on the strengthening and rehab of the bridge itself. And we're going to start with seismic strengthening. You can imagine when you're going to do a remodel on a house, you want to start with the foundation first. And just as a reminder, when in 2026, we'll be having a centennial celebration for the Bridge of the Gods. So it is time to put some assets into restoration of the bridge, strengthening. Bridge of the Gods is very different than the other interstate bridges across the Columbia. They're not all the same. And you well know the I-5 bridge needs to be replaced. And there's a project underway to do that, and it's going to be in the multiple billions of dollars to do it. The bridge at Hood River needs to be replaced. They have a project in place. They're looking for money, and it's going to be upwards of over $500 million to do that. The Bridge of the Gods is very different. It just needs some targeted strengthening. And that's what we're proposing to start with seismic strengthening, because as you know, if we ever have a major quake as is forecast, we want to make sure that we're protected from the ground up. So our bridge engineer has put together a lot of information on this sheet here, but just points out a couple of the key points, the key locations on the bridge that could be helped by this work, which we have bearings that the bridge rests on each one of the concrete pillars that hold up the bridge that are very rigid, and new technology now designs bearings where there can be some flex and a little bit of movement, but there should be some shaking of the earth so that swaying isn't transferred directly to your structure and it goes with the flow of it. There's some gusset plate work that could be accomplished as well, but at the end of this this investment, we'll have a very good idea of what additional strengthening is needed to be done on the bridge, ultimately to get to that project we talked about, which would be a bike ped lane that can link Oregon and Washington. So you can have, Kat was just here talking about transportation. We're talking about recreation and active transportation too, because as you all know, or most of you, that Pacific Crest Trail crosses that bridge. And I just got a letter from PCTA today, the Pacific Crest Trail Association, that this last year, they had over 7,500 people that signed up as through hikers on the PCT, and it's just growing exponentially. If you're here in August this year, of course, you notice how many PCT hikers there were, which is a good thing, because they come to town, they spend money, and obviously they love Cascade locks, they love the board. So that's really kind of the crux of it. I can be happy to answer more technical questions if you have them. I presented to the Stevenson City Council at their last meeting. They're going to be putting together a letter of support. I'm on the agenda for the next Sugar County Commission meeting in November, and then getting on the schedule for screening county commission as well. Because as you talk to legislators, they want to know what their local elected officials are saying. So having all that local governmental support will be helpful as we go to Salem and we go to Olympia. And, that's really what I have to share. So any questions or comments, I'd be happy to.
I like the idea of that walkway. It's sometimes going across that bridge and say bicyclers or hikers or just people walking
And I should mention too, it's not germane, well, it's tight in, it's not, but we might ask for those support too. We have another standalone piece of legislation, a policy bill we're working on in Salem, but it goes back to try to modernize some of the original statutes that were written back in 1987, right after the passage of the Scenic Act. It talks about the old scenic Columbia River Highway and bike pathways and pedestrian pathways and ODOT, what they can do and what they can't do and so forth, and slides in interstate bridges into that conversation too, that they are a part of that bi-state trail system that back in 1987, nobody could envision. So things have changed a lot. So we will be working on a policy bill as well to exactly what you're talking about. And you see what they're building, what I kind of call the H1 of the world, this new bike pathway. It's going through the bridge here, and they're sparing no dollars on that. And that was a full-fledged project, as you know. You've seen what they're doing through Mitchell Point. But anyway, there's still no way to link that pathway to Washington. There's no way to safely get a bike across the river between I-205 and the Owls, and it just makes no sense. So Stevenson and Swaney County are really helping us on this too. I just want you to know our neighbors across river are cheering for us to be successful with this too, because they understand the value of linking the recreation and the economic development and just safety, so that really kind of. I guess what you look for is to authorize your city manager to author a letter of some sort that we can put in the file and have that to access.
We need a motion.
Motion, consensus, direction, coming to do it. Be happy to do it.
It'd be crazy not to support it, because we do
Well,
need,
I'm gonna keep it crazy.
well, yeah, we know that.
Not too much longer.
I think we should do a letter of support and do whatever we can. Because we do get a lot of PCT hikers and it is dangerous walking across and all
This
that.
is really about initially, it's shoring up the structure to make sure that it's there for
Yeah.
us to rely upon
Mhm.
for transportation.
Phase 2 is the sidewalk.
You know, and I'll
Okay.
just mention that, Jeremiah knows this really well, but the port put about $600,000 into that bridge last fall. Because ODOT had found a few things that they weren't happy with, so we corrected that situation, but again, it's almost a 100-year-old structure, and those things are gonna happen more frequently. So we need to take some preventative measures if we can to try to lessen that, because we want to keep it operating as fully as we can at the full weight loads too, so we can get any kind of vehicle safely across the bridge. So-
Yeah.
So if there's no objection, I will authorize a letter of support from the city to the board.
It's definitely critical infrastructures and it's
Yeah.
highlighted with the traffic delays and Viento and one lane
Oh,
traffic
yeah.
going east. How much extra traffic we had going over that bridge, the community,
Mhm.
both sides, everywhere, they all depend on that.
Well, and what I guess you all will know, anytime there's an emergency in the gorge, if you remember back when we had the train derailment motion, ODOT and WASDOT both insist or they depend upon the Hood River Bridge and the Bridge of God being available to get traffic safely where they gotta go. Same thing with the Eagle Creek Fire, So, they depend on them in emergency situations, but we're not a part of their work plan. We don't get their support regularly to update. So this is just a way of going back and making a general fund request to the state to help us out with this. So, eventually they expect us to be there, but it takes a little bit of maintenance to make sure that we are able to be there safely.
Bush has a comment.
There are two iconic structures in Cascade Locks. One's the Bridge of the Gods and the other's the Sternwheeler. Those are the two things that everybody talks about in Cascade Locks. And we need to support both of those to the utmost to keep people happy coming into Cascade Locks. That's it.
I think the consensus is support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
City administrators, everyone reports.
Brenda, still waiting for the election.
Wow.
So I tell you.
We don't have a date or anything, because I told them it's till the end of the month.
The electrician we're on what's called a floating request. If they get done with the project and have 4 hours available, they're gonna run up and do it. If you want it on the hard schedule, we're 2 months out. So we're staying on the floating and trying to squeeze it in.
Yeah, I went up and seen it, it's quite a big structure.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
On the venture Wampah fire hydrant, we've contracted with Summit. That's the last. I got the wrong copy on it.
You got this one?
Thank you. It was an earlier draft. Summit contracting will install the fire hydrant at the corner of Venture and Wampah, hopefully by the end of October. And the contractor has assigned an employee and equipment to do it. But the employee had some chest pain, so we don't know if he's going to be back on the job to do it. But the Summit contractor is going to be doing it for us. It's going to cost us somewhere just under $3,000. Number 3, Paul Martin, one of our paramedics, has resigned effective November the 4th. May we advertise to replace?
Yes.
Nodding heads, thank you. And the questions that were asked in the last council meeting, I've got some answers. Could the city give the residents 180 days to establish the HOA? We saw a formal request tonight for 260,000. Yes, you can, if you would like. The city attorney wants to see some kind of official action and before that, some substantive steps. But as they also noted, Mr. Weisner has a project which he has not codified to be a proposal, which may simplify the issue. But until I get that, or Jordan gets it, I don't know if you're gonna do it, the 260 days makes more sense because it may be that Mr. Weisner comes back and says they'll create it when they create the HOA for this phase 2, but the phase 2 is not gonna have the final plat until probably this spring. So there may be some synergy here, but again, we have not extended it, but we'll, it's on Jordan's to-do list. Could the city look into insurance coverage for errors and omissions to see if any specified remedies are covered? We don't have errors and omissions. We have a performance bond. The performance bond that was used to finish the paving was done by the original developer, not Osprey, but it was Harps that did that. He did not finish the roads, and we used his performance bond to finish the road. I don't know that we ever collected a performance bond. Kathy Boozley is the one that's got all the information on this from Osprey. Osprey did everything in the what they were required to do, except, and they did form the HOA, but, and the next question was that the HOA was never formed. It was formed corporately on the Oregon law, but was never, there were no elections held, there were no bylaws that we know of that were ever created. It was just the CC&Rs that were created when they incorporated it that are now attached to all of their property. And we're going to the property owners because at the direction of the city attorney to get this get this action moving so that the property, the bioswale and the quote park end quote can be maintained. But as far as the city knew, there were never officer elections. There was never bylaws were never codified. Is there an engineering study to determine a reserve amount for potential repairs to the bioswale? No, there is no study. What Mr. Osprey told me was, Mr. Weisner told me was his property manager said there is about 300 feet of fencing that would cost about $7,500 to replace in 30 years. At $2022, if the price increases 50%, the fence replacement would cost just over $11,000 or 79 cents per month per lot. So if they did a reserve amount, $1 a month is what they have to do. There's no engineering study on how to preserve the bioswale. If the bioswale is designed, fill it with water, and the water leaks out the pipe at a controlled rate. And it's for preventing flooding down the road.
Can I ask a question about that real quick? So I think the wording that I heard brought up this evening was an operations manual.
There was no operations manual. It's called an engineering reserve study, which says this is what it takes to operate this particular bioswale. And this is the kind of thing you need to put in a reserve account. So when the bioswale needs to be replaced in 30 years, that you've got the money to do it. That was never done. Again, because the HOA was never, I don't know now if it's late or not, but there is, Osprey Homes never did a engineering reserve study for the bioswale. So, and they're the ones that gave me the cost. So that's all I know.
Question on the strip that's right in front of it, that's full of blackberries. The blackberries are growing over the fence into the bioswale. So
yeah,
who has that piece?
It's all part of the same piece of all.
On the outside of the fence?
There's some on the outside, there's blackberries growing over the neighbor's fence, there's blackberries on the front, there's all kinds of growth in the bioswale.
And there's also a city right away along, or I guess it's county roadway, right?
It's county roadway, but again, on phase 2 of Windsong, they're gonna be putting sidewalks, curb and gutters on the whole of that, all the way from Sheridan to the end of their property. They'll have nice new sidewalks, streets, sidewalks, gutters, all that stuff.
Who owns that piece? That's a little sliver of a piece.
The county is county right away.
It's county.
Yeah, but again, as good neighbors, it's the adjoining property owner that's responsible for the maintenance of it. And that is Osprey at the moment. Although they don't exist in Oregon anymore. So that's why we're trying to work with Mr. Weisner to get this all fixed.
Can I ask a question? Why would we do any more with him before he, I mean, this would be top of my list. You get this HOA, we're not gonna combine the two. You do what you said over here before you could go to the next job.
Well, that's exactly what we told them, and that's why they haven't finished the final plat yet. They're trying to figure out how to get that all done.
Yeah, in the meantime, they're on a time crunch, yeah.
We will keep going.
When is the 90 days are up on what, December?
December. So we got some time.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like, you know, on the December the 13th, we're gonna haul with court.
No.
No.
And it's hard to really, I think, point to something specific and say there's an example of, significant progress that's been made by the homeowners. But I would say that
We've been asked not to make progress.
Well,
to make that clear.
again, and again, that was, but the fact that they're here and talking to me is substantive.
That's how I just wanted to say.
You're not saying they're not gonna do it.
They're definitely
What they're saying
participating
is,
and vocal and.
We know we have to do it, and let's do it right. We just need more time to do it.
Yeah.
So
That's
is
my
that a fair
interpretation.
interpretation?
Yeah, I think that we would like Austria to come back and
Yeah.
figure it out. That's actually what we would think,
That's
but
who's responsible for it now.
No, actually, it's the property owners, according to our city attorney. So, and that's what we have to follow, is what our city attorney, the bill of rights is. So,
yeah, well,
and that's why you got the letter.
yeah, well, who owns the land? I'm not sure why the city attorney thinks we would do that. If we haven't gotten a proper turnover process according to law, we haven't got a proper pass down according to law. They still own the land according to law.
That's a great.
Why would your city attorney be advising that? I would love to speak to him.
Well, we can't do that, but I'm sorry.
We could if we had a meeting, and I've asked.
But I was just gonna say on this topic that
It's hard to have 3-minute conversations over 6 months, or 3 months, we have 6 minutes per month, spread over 3 minutes. It would be appropriate to have like an actual sit down, and bring your city attorney, bring Dan Weiser, invite people to the table and talk about it.
And I was gonna say, it feels like the format kind of gets in the way of actually making significant
Yes,
progress.
because we're on the 3 minutes, that's exactly what I said, I got 18 minutes spread over 6 different meetings. What do I have to do, but basically come in combat mode?
Well, and you come and you've got, I think that there are a lot of good questions that are raised, not just by you, by everybody that comes up and
Everyone.
speaks, but then it's a 2-week wait to get an answer. And I know that some of those require some research and some, but a lot of times it's going to get answers from somebody that's not here, it seems like.
How long does this body have to wait, or what do they need before you can propose and vote on an extension?
That's the question that will be going to the city attorney.
I like the idea.
Your question was, how long do we have to wait before we can vote on extending their?
So the answer is the mayor controls the agenda and with input from city staff. And again, we're gonna ask the city attorney at the formal request that was made tonight to put it clear back to May to see if he is comfortable with that. And if he considers their dialogue with us as substantive, then we will delay it. But until I ask the city attorney that question, based on tonight's presentation, we don't know the answer.
Why does the attorney get to decide that?
Because he's our legal advisor, and this is a legal question. Now, you can go ahead and if you want and make a motion and delay it. But it's without, you haven't consulted your legal counsel to see if he's comfortable with that. That's like, we don't generally do that. We
Is
generally-
it possible to have a meeting with him, like a Zoom meeting maybe, where everyone can log on and answer all the questions and keep it to a time limit?
Well,
So would it?
I suppose we could do that, but which questions can the city attorney answer and which questions can't he answer? You know, I can't answer anything for Mr. Weisner, you know, so again, we'll just keep chipping away at this.
Why isn't Mr. Weisner present for any of these meetings?
We haven't given them the letter, the same letter we got.
He got the same letter.
Did
Yeah, he's one of the property owners, so I think he did. He was supposed to.
Well, we should be attending these meetings with the HOA then.
Well, okay, I'm off the record, yeah, funded, but anyway, we're not quite there yet, so, but we're working on it. That's all I'm
We're
saying.
working on it, but our 90 days are going, so
I
we're gonna need another 2 weeks
understand.
before we can get another
I
response about
understand
the
that.
extension.
I understand that, and so that's why we're gonna ask, based on your request tonight, to move it to May, if he's comfortable with that, because that matches the timing for the second phase of Flint's on 2, which they have to have an HOA for that. And maybe they're gonna incorporate everybody, I don't know.
But I think that's opening up a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
There are many people that don't want to be taking on additional property to
Right.
maintain it.
It's gotta be, year 40 have to take care of the
Since they got an
biosystem.
irrigation system on that open park and all that, that's all got paid for by the HOA.
So
I won't get into
I
that.
just, we hear you, just understand, we hear you. We do. And finally, thank you. I'm out. Off the mic. It's been an incredible 10 years. Working for this community, and I appreciate the landmines I've left Jordan. Such as the HOA and the fire hydrant and Dry Creek, all part of the fun, all part of it. But you've hired a very capable young man, and he will help you all reach your goals. But again, thank you very much for the honor. It's really.
Thank you.
Sounds like good, we're gonna figure it out. Okay.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
I appreciate the position it puts you in. I didn't think it was gonna be this volatile. I just want to make sure that the property that's on is just taken care of, and that's the city's concern, and I don't care. If you do it, the next HOA does it, somebody else steps up and does it. I just want to make sure that it's taken care of for the benefit of everybody. So with that, it's a handoff to him. Jay Bennett at Cascade Dash.
2 N's, 2 T's. We only got
Two
one.
T's.
Are you trying to trick us already?
That's my.
Well, you got the first name right.
I know that.
All this work, we're like, yeah. All right,
See?
all right, mayor and city council comments. Butch. Thank you for attending, I know you're a ways.
Oh, yeah. I'm in a real neat place, Jordan. I'm in Burns, Oregon.
Hey, what are you doing there?
I'm on my way home.
So was the sound better this time?
Yeah, it was better. I could hear more, except when people get excited it seems like when their voices go up, there's more echo. But
Interesting.
otherwise, yeah, I can hear them better. First thing, Gordon, I want to thank you for all the honest and genuine answers you gave me over this last 2 years, and I appreciated your honesty with everything and your candidness. Even when I was wrong, you made sure I knew it. You know.
Gently, do it, come on.
You are going to be sorely missed. On the homelessness issue, I felt there wasn't enough information that we were given. They put in about our area 8, but they didn't say how much money like Portland's getting or Salem's getting, and where's this money coming from? So they didn't really put out enough information for us to make an informed decision on it. So that's why I said nothing on it. The HOA, remember last meeting, I said we should extend it until May. So I'm still with that. I think we need an extension with that. And Daniel Weisner, as far as I'm concerned, he is persona non grata. Also getting down to, have we gotten an accounting on the community picnic money that we spent? You know, exactly where did all that money go and for what? So
we can get receipts next by, I think we're all done with everything in.
okay. And
We were under budget.
Mr. Bennett, welcome to the madhouse sometimes. So
Thank you.
when I get back, I hope to be able to come over and say hi to you. So
Look forward to it.
That's all I got.
Pete.
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Gordon, for all your time here, serving our community, and welcome, Jordan. Happy to have you. Excited to see you joining us here. Want to express my thanks to Jessica, Regina, and Clayton for all the work you guys are doing. I think really make sure that what we put in place with the HOA is done right, so people can get behind it, and I think that's really important. So I appreciate all the time and effort, everybody that's been involved in that whole process. As part of that. So Denise, again, thank you for coming tonight. We always have good content and things to share, so I really appreciate that as well. I was surprised, I guess, by the lack of support about the homelessness initiative. I understand where Butch is coming from. It's not a problem that's going to get better, and it's only going to get worse. And I think it needs some attention and focus. And I think that your comments are really valid, Butch, and that maybe if there was more information that's provided, maybe they could get more support. But I guess we'll see what happens.
You got everything we got.
We got what we got.
Is there a deadline on that? Like, when do we need?
Yes,
to
we needed to decide tonight.
So,
but again, it's just a letter of support that the league is sending to our legislators. There's no.
It may have zero impact
Yeah.
whatsoever on the. But I do definitely think it's an issue that I think is something that if we're not thinking about in our community, it's something we should be thinking about. And it's not something that's going to resolve itself on its own. That's really all I got to say.
Brenda?
Welcome, Jordan. It will be a fun ride. And Gordon, thank you. I've sat in a lot of years of council meetings and budget committee and watched how the town has changed in these 10 years. And, we went from where we had no fire or EMS, so if you called 911, there was no one there for you. And that was a real thing in Cascade Locks when you came. And I'm very grateful that today we have that, and I can see that we have improved in so many areas, and we're growing, and it's, you know, it's just more healthy and stuff, and I really appreciate that, because I know it's taken a lot of hard work by not just you, but you know, many others, a team effort, but you know, it takes a good leader to have a team. You know, 'cause if you don't got a good leader, you don't got a good team. Other thing, thank everybody that from the HOA that came, and Tamara and Tiffany and BKI and Kat and everybody. I love it when I see the rooms full of people. Sat in council many years on that side and no one ever attends. And it's like, if you want something changed or whatever, because we can't hear it unless we're hearing it, like, so I love it. And what got me interested in my town and coming to council meetings is because I live here and I had a business here, and I was like, I should know what's going on here, you know? And I just, me and Butch have sat in many meetings, and I love it when people come, because it wasn't that way. So keep coming, even if we get everything resolved, still come. The other thing, I had made a promise, and you'll hear it every council meeting, it's about Forest Lane. And the traffic and the speeding and the jake brakes on these semis. We need a sign that says no jake brakes. Other towns have it, it should be a thing. If you lived in my house and these trucks were flying down your street in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden they hit a jake brake, and I don't know if you know what that is, but that's an engine brake that goes all the way down to the stop sign here. It's a rather rude alarm clock. And that's not counting the cars that are speeding and all this stuff. I've asked for speed limit be reduced, speed bumps. Now we got these flashy things. At least I can see how fast the cars are going eastbound from my house, which are usually doing more than 35. So that's one of my big pet peeves, that I would like to see something done before someone actually gets killed. Because we have had a few years ago where, do you remember, Gordon, where the car went through my neighbor's yard, my yard, the apartment complex yard, across the street, and landed in a house and missed somebody by like a foot that was sitting next to the TV, you know, that was real. And so Forest Lane is a big issue. The other thing too is in our downtown corridor, there's huge political signs, and I believe they're on private property. Were they permitted? Because I know you're supposed to get permits for signs downtown.
Those are temporary signs that are permitted under the ordinance.
Because I think it comes as a reflection of what the city, like, I just, you know, I have a hard time, I guess, with it, is because whenever we put out little signs for our pancake graphics feed to raise money for our fire department, our chief got called on vacation to go pick up every one of them signs because they were in city right away. So whenever I see these other signs, it's a little irritating to me. Whenever we're losing firemen and EMTs because we're not paying enough.
Not this time.
Yeah. That was my other thing too, is so on the political thing, so, and then I'm gonna make an effort to go to the fire hall and see if I could meet with John, and I would like to see some of our monies that we're using for other things, to see, you know, they don't have a really good kitchen from my understanding in the fire hall. And our wages are a little bit lower, so I'm thinking at least we could have a nice kitchen for them in there, so, because we don't really have, you know, they're not always able to go and get something to eat, and places close early and things like that, so that's gonna be on my agenda to do, is to talk to John and say, hey, what kind of kitchen things do you guys need, because we're doing like picnics and all this stuff. I would like to, if we can't give them a pay raise, let's at least give them a nice home, right? Hopefully. And then speaking about the guy that resigned, It's in his, and the staff report, city administrator report. Yeah. When did you get notice of that?
Couple of weeks ago, after the last council meeting.
I would like to. It's a big deal to me, but it probably isn't to anybody else, but I would like to be made aware when someone puts in a notice or whatever. That at least an email or something, is that asking too much to council, so we know what's going on, cause like 2 weeks later. You know. I don't know, not that it could change anything, but at least you know.
Okay.
If that could, that could happen. And I think that is it, my Dry Creek people. And the fire hydrant, I'm grateful and I appreciate all the work and stuff, and that's all I have, and thank you staff for getting our packets together and all that, I really appreciate it. And again, thank you, Gordon, you'll be dearly missed.
Brenda, I'm leaving too.
So we're 4 hours of work away from having that project done?
4 hours?
Isn't that what you said, 4 hours?
Wait, and 4 hours from the Dry Creek for the electrician.
For the electrician.
There, yeah. After he let, then we have to test it, make sure it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 hours.
4 hours,
8 hours.
yeah, get them there first.
Yeah, 8 hours on the hike once they get.
Yeah, once it gets there, so.
Getting closer though.
I know, this thing's been like a year, at least a year, 'cause it's been a long time. Yeah, thank you.
Jeremiah.
Thank you for the citizens turning out this evening. It's always nice to get the feedback and have you guys involved. Everyone turned up at this many meetings. I think we would push a lot of these messages that we struggle with out. We are forced to make some hard decisions sometimes without a lot of feedback. I do encourage us to continue to make those hard decisions. You mentioned that this format is very difficult, and that is the format of small local government. It does not move very quickly and it's not very efficient. So it's a tough format to work with. So when we do get those tough decisions, we should be making them. That kicking the can down the road thing can go a long time. And 2 weeks out, and 2 weeks out, and 2 weeks out. With that being said, Gordon, I will miss you. I didn't get to work with you as much as I wanted to, both at the port and here. And every time I did, I took a little something away from it. The chats that we had, they were great. Jordan, if I call you Gordon a couple times, just because it's so darn close, but it's good shoes to be filling. So I'm excited, really excited to have you on board and the direction you're going to take the city. I think you landed a really great opportunity. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Okay.
Just one last comment.
Okay, go for it.
My little Surface Pro laptop, that is my retirement gift.
Don't tell me it.
It died.
We're gonna go, have to go
No,
climb
no,
the
no, no, we're getting a cord that's gonna fix it. It's like $60 or something. So it's in theory gonna allow it to be used. So thank you.
I was like.
And I was in a meeting with the court when it died.
Oh, is that what happened?
Brutal.
All right. Well, first and foremost, Gordon, really, truly, thank you for everything you've done, and he's been very patient, and when I'm wrong, he calls me out on it, call me like Kathy. I'm like, oh God, what'd I do? But I always appreciate that. Yes, it's always has been. So I very much appreciate it, very much, and your knowledge, and I will truly be missed, and I'm looking forward. I know you're gonna go on a mission, but maybe we'll see at the fundraisers and things like that.
I'll be around.
You don't look too far, so. But
You pass my house.
I know.
every day.
I wait. So, but anyway, truly, thank you. You really brought the city through a lot of stuff and a lot of upgrades, and I see you. I see what you've done, and so I really appreciate it. Jordan, welcome aboard. I gotta tell you, 2 years being on, this is the most people I've ever seen. This is not normal. So, but I, like Brenda and everyone else, I encourage involvement from the from the community. I enjoy it. I like to see it. Welcome board. I'm excited to have you here and glad that your family's coming soon and just look forward to getting to know you better and working with you. I'll certainly thank you to the staff too for you guys do such a great job getting all this stuff done. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody at HOA. It is I can see your frustration. Denise, thank you so much. It's just a world of knowledge that you bring and your ideas. I really appreciate that. All the attendees that came, everyone that came and presented. I kind of share the same thing with Pete about the concern for the homelessness. This is just a letter of asking for support. We got not one, but two. I don't understand how there wasn't enough information. This isn't costing us anything. This is, I mean, it was pretty detailed on what the ask was. You know, Mr. Johnson provides nothing but information, good information, but we're all like, yeah, let's support it. But I guess I'm trying to wrap my brain around why we wouldn't put a letter out of support of maybe possibly getting some money down the road. This isn't tying us to saying it's gonna cost us. It's just a letter of support, similar to what Mr. Johnson was asking for. He's just simply asking for support for the bridge and homelessness, affordability. I am a huge supporter of that. Been to lots of, went to Bend, went tours at Bend, took all sorts of classes on it. It is a big, big need and it's not gonna get better. It's just gonna get worse as far as that. The need's gonna get greater. So I don't know, can we revisit this or just can we add a letter of support for the homelessness?
I think that ship is sailed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in that. I'm not gonna lie. And then we're having an LOC, not lodge, but it's called LOC meeting here in December. So Jordan will get together and figure out how we're gonna do that. And I encourage everybody to attend that. When you go to training and whatnot, you learn all sorts of skills. So I'd like to see that happen, and I think that's it. All right. Anything else? Am I missing? Other matters?
I have none.
Executive session? No.
Mama?
No.
Motion to adjourn. Second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.